Member for Calgary Nose Hill.
Mr. Speaker, earlier in question period, the Prime Minister said that there would be fluctuations, that's his word, in vaccine delivery in coming weeks. And that's a big problem because if there are unexpected, quote, fluctuations, it makes it very difficult for the provinces to properly time the 2 doses of the top candidates. So fluctuations are a problem. Can the Prime Minister tell Canadians if he's expecting a reduced or zero shipment from Moderna on the week of February 22nd?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we knew that vaccine production was going to be a massive challenge for companies around the world to develop and produce a vaccine that didn't exist yet when we were signing these contracts last summer. That's why we signed so many different contracts for so many potential doses for Canadians to ensure that we would be able to get Canadians vaccinated regardless of challenges or, yes, fluctuations in the week-to-week delivery program. That's why we can continue to guarantee we will receive those 6 million doses we promised by the end of Q1. We will have everyone vaccinated by September of 2020 who wants one.
Yeah, the Honourable Member for Calgary Nose Hill.
Well, the Prime Minister is admitting that he knew there would be problems with delivery because he depended entirely on signing contracts with other countries for production. Maybe he should have had a plan to develop domestic capacity before the end of this year. I think it's really important for the Prime Minister to be clear on this on behalf of the provinces and every public health person who's trying to deliver vaccines. Is he expecting limited or no doses from Moderna to be delivered on the week of February 22nd?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
We are continuing to expect shipments from Moderna this week and in the weeks to come. We will continue to advise the provinces as soon as we get concrete numbers on different deliveries. But yes, they will continue to deliver hundreds of thousands of vaccines across the country. We are on track to receive all the vaccines that we were promised by the end of March. That is 6 million doses from Pfizer and Moderna. And we are very much on track to getting 20 million doses in the spring and everyone who wants it vaccinated by September.
More people will fall sick and more people will lose their lives. But on top of that, the mixed messages and confusing messages from this government around the ability to produce the vaccine in Canada will erode public trust. The Prime Minister said we would be able to have that production capacity by September. His minister said by the end of the year, and the NRC says by 2022. We have long called for, New Democrats have long called for local production of the vaccine. Why didn't the Prime Minister start a year ago to plan to have this capacity here in Canada so we can make the vaccine here in our country?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we did start working on creating biomanufacturing capacity a year ago, which is why we immediately made investments in Medicago, Vito Intervac, the NRC, and Abcellera as we developed domestic vaccine capacity. But at the same time, we signed contracts with companies around the world to ensure that we would be able to get Canadians vaccinated. And despite the fears being peddled by members of the opposition parties, I can reassure Canadians we are very much on track to get the 6 million doses or more planned for the end of Q1 and to have everyone who wants a vaccine vaccinated by September. That's the plan we're working with, and that's what we're delivering.
The Honourable Member for Chicoutimi-Le-Fjord. Mr. Speaker, the pandemic has highlighted the lack of funding for provincial health systems across Canada. All provinces have called for increased health transfers. The leader of the official opposition has committed to holding a summit on this issue within the first 100 days of a Conservative mandate. The Prime Minister could do this right away. But all he can do is talk about national standards being imposed on the provinces. Why hasn't he taken action and increased health transfers to the provinces? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, I wouldn't want my honourable colleague to mislead the House. We have had a meeting with the provinces and territories to talk about health transfers, and we all agreed that we need to boost health transfers to the provinces. There's no question about that. And by way of proof, we have transferred billions of additional dollars during this pandemic to help the provinces, including to help seniors in long-term care facilities. We will continue to invest in healthcare systems all across the country. We will be there to be long-term partners in the
I would like to take this opportunity to thank all the members of the Parliamentary Protective Services for keeping us safe. Merci à tous.
Thank you to all of you.
Oral questions. Question orale. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday we got news that Imperial Oil is making plans for how to move product if Line 5 is shut down. It's going to mean more oil moved by train. It's going to be more oil moved by tankers on the Great Lakes. Line 5 is the safest option for meeting the energy needs on both sides of the border. So why doesn't the Prime Minister have a plan to make sure Line 5 keeps operating?
Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, from the beginning, we have worked closely with our American counterparts on important issues facing Canadians and people on both sides of the border. That's why we continue to advocate for Line 5. We recognize how important it is to ensure energy security to both Canadians and Americans. Our ambassador in Washington, along with officials on both sides of the border, remain engaged on this important issue. We are very hopeful we're going to be able to solve this issue.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, leadership means the Prime Minister should be engaged. He's had 3 calls with American officials, and he hasn't mentioned Line 5 once. 30,000 jobs will be affected if Line 5 is shut down. According to the Pipe Fitters Union, up to 6,500 good trades union jobs could be affected. These are good jobs for families across Ontario. Why won't the Prime Minister stand up for these families?
Honourable Prime Minister.
Line 5 is a vital source of fuel for homes and businesses on both sides of the border. That is something that we have argued strongly and will continue to argue strongly with members of the U.S. administration. Our ongoing engagement with the Biden administration and with partners in the United States on this and on many issues continues to be on the front burner.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, Canada's vaccination rate is the lowest in the G7. The Globe and Mail pointed out this morning that Canada will need to vaccinate 300,000 people per day, or 2.1 million people per week, to meet the September deadline the Prime Minister keeps promising. So far, only 124,000 Canadians have been completely vaccinated. Where is the Prime Minister's plan to vaccinate 2.1 million Canadians per day?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we have had a strong plan on procuring vaccines since last spring. We signed more deals with more potential vaccine manufacturers for more doses per capita than any other country, and that is paying off. We're getting shipments of vaccines into Canada. We're delivering them across the provinces and territories who are getting them into arms, and we continue to be on track to receiving the 6 million doses promised by the end of March, 20 million doses in the spring, and we will have all Canadians vaccinated by September if they want one.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. We learned this morning that last March, the CEO of Numax, a pharmaceutical company in Montreal, offered to manufacture vaccines in Montreal. Unfortunately, that proposal was totally ignored by this government. The Prime Minister has to tell Canadians why he didn't negotiate last March to have vaccines produced domestically. The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, That's simply not true. Since the beginning of the pandemic, we knew we had to strengthen our domestic vaccine production capacity for now and for the long term. That's why we immediately invested to support projects like Medicago, the National Research Council of Canada, and others. We acted swiftly to boost our domestic production capacity, and we did this by listening to and following the advice of our scientists and experts at every step of the way. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, that's not true. The information on vaccine delivery is coming in drips and drabs. We've just had a week with no deliveries. It's radio silence. The government is asking Canadians to be patient, but Canadians want to know the truth. How many Moderna doses will get here by February 22nd? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, I am happy to be able to confirm yet again that we will be getting all the promised deliveries from Moderna and Pfizer by the end of March as scheduled, with doses arriving week after week. Yes, there are fluctuations in vaccine deliveries from week to week, and we will still be able to reach our objectives for the months to come. And in addition, we are still on track to vaccinate everyone who wants to be vaccinated by September.